They told you that sex is sin. They told you to be ashamed of your body, ashamed of your desires, ashamed of the very thing that gave you life. But let me tell you the truth, they never dared to whisper. Sex is not sin. Sleep is. Yes, the real sin is not in your desire. It is in your unconsciousness, in the way you live half dead, moving through life like a machine. Sex is innocent. It is life. Sleep, the blindness of your soul, that is the only sin. If you are ready to wake up from that sleep, to explore these truths with me, subscribe to Sacred Murmur, because here we speak not to entertain the mind, but to awaken the soul. Think about it. Without sex, no saint, no prophet, no priest would exist. The very mouths that condemned it were fed by it. The very hands that wrote scriptures were born of it, and yet they told you, hide it, repress it, feel guilty for it. Why? Because sex is dangerous, not because it is sin, but because it cannot be controlled once it is free. A person who accepts their sexuality is harder to chain. They will not kneel so easily. They will not be made guilty. They will not obey without question. So society created a trick. It declared sex to be unholy and obedience to be holy. But look around. Those who followed this lie became hypocrites. They denied sex with their lips, but it continued to haunt them in their dreams, in their shadows, in their secret desires. Sex is not sin. It is the beginning of you. It is the spark that brought you here. Do you see the irony? You condemn the seed, and yet you worship the flower. How can there be a flower without the seed? The real sin is sleep, the way you move through life, not even aware of what you are doing, eating without tasting, walking without seeing, loving without presence, making love without awareness. That is sin, not sex itself, but sleep inside it. When you are asleep in your desires, you simply repeat. You live like an animal, mechanically. That is where suffering is born, not from the desire itself, but from the absence of consciousness in it. But when you bring awareness, something changes. Look at a seed in the soil. It trembles with energy. Hidden inside it is a tree, a forest, shade, fruit, fragrance. All of it is possible, but only if the seed is not denied, not crushed. Sex is that seed within you. It is the root energy, the most basic, the most natural. Without it, you would not even breathe. Without it, love would not exist. Without it, creativity, poetry, art, even meditation would have no foundation. But the world told you otherwise. It told you this energy is shameful. It told you suppress it, deny it, bury it. And so you have lived half alive, carrying a seed that was never allowed to blossom. Osho once said, sex is the seed, love is the flower, and meditation is the fragrance. If you destroy the seed, how will the flower ever open? How will the fragrance ever be born? Sex by itself is not dirty. It is unconsciousness that makes it so. When you live it blindly, it becomes lust. It becomes just repetition, a cycle, a hunger that never ends. That is why so many feel empty after desire is satisfied, because they are asleep inside it. But the same energy, when touched with awareness, begins to rise. It moves from the body to the heart, from lust to love, from love to silence. Think of fire. Fire can burn your house down, or it can keep you warm on a cold night. It depends on how you hold it, how you use it, how conscious you are of it. Sex is fire. Unconscious, it destroys. Conscious, it gives light. And this is the key. Awareness transforms, not suppression, not denial. Transformation. You cannot go beyond sex by running away from it. You can only go beyond it by entering it fully, with presence, with love, with meditation, by allowing the energy to flow, to teach you, to lift you higher. When two bodies meet in unconscious lust, there is no meeting at all, only collision. But when two beings meet with awareness, the body becomes a door, and for a moment the soul steps through. That moment of melting, that small death, the French called it la petite mort, is a glimpse of eternity. And this is where society has kept you blind. They feared the power of this energy. They feared what would happen if you learned to live it with awareness. Because a man who transforms sex becomes free, and a free man cannot be controlled. Next, let us look at this sleep itself, this hypnosis that society has wrapped around you. For sex is not dangerous, sleep is. But why then? Why has sex been condemned so fiercely? Because the sleeping crowd needed it to be condemned. Understand this. A man who is awake in his sexuality, awake in his energy, awake in his being, cannot be controlled. He becomes a rebel. He becomes free. And society has always been afraid of free men. So they created prisons, not prisons with bars of iron, but prisons inside your mind. They whispered in your ear, sex is sin. Desire is dangerous. Your body is shameful. They planted fear where there should have been celebration. And you believed them. You accepted their hypnosis. This is the sleep I am speaking of, the sleep of conditioning, the sleep of borrowed morality. You are not living your life. You are living the rules written by dead men. When a child is born, he is wild, he is innocent, he has no shame in his body. He touches, he explores, he laughs, he dances. But slowly, step by step, his fire is dimmed. His parents scold him, his teachers warn him, his priests frighten him. By the time he becomes an adult, he no longer owns his energy. It has been stolen. And the result? A society full of frustrated people, angry people, people who chase money, power, fame, because the natural joy of their body and being has been denied. This is why you see so much violence in the world, so much madness, so many wars. A man whose energy is suppressed will not remain quiet. He will release it in some distorted way. Have you noticed? The countries that repress sex the most are often the most violent, the most cruel. This is not a coincidence. Sleep means you are moving like a robot, repeating the old programs, never asking, never questioning, never looking within. And unless you wake up from this hypnosis, sex will remain a problem. You will keep fighting with it. You will keep feeling guilty. So, what is to be done? If sex is energy, if society has hypnotized you into fear, how can you be free of this prison? The answer is not suppression. The answer is transformation. Suppression poisons. Transformation heals. Energy cannot be destroyed. Try to kill it, and it will return through another door, more twisted, more violent. Try to escape it, and it will chase you in your dreams. The only way is to take it in your hands, look at it with awareness, and allow it to rise. When you eat food, it becomes blood. That blood becomes energy, movement, thought. And one day, the same energy becomes love, becomes creativity, becomes prayer. Energy is always moving upward. Sex is only the first step. But when you stop at the first step, when you remain stuck, you live in circles. Desire, satisfaction, boredom. Desire again, satisfaction again, boredom again. The wheel turns endlessly. Awareness breaks the circle. Imagine water boiling. If you keep the lid on, it will only hiss and spit. But if you let it rise as steam, it becomes invisible. It ascends. Sex is that water. With awareness, it begins to evaporate into love, and love, when lived totally, rises further, becomes meditation. Osho said, "Sex is the beginning of a journey that ends in samadhi. If you miss the beginning, you will miss the whole. So do not deny the beginning. Enter it, but enter with presence. Make love not as a mechanical act, but as meditation. Slow down. Breathe. Feel. Watch what is happening in your body, in your mind, in your heart. Then, sex is no longer lust. It becomes prayer. And something mysterious happens. Slowly, the urge for sex changes. It loses its obsession, its urgency. The energy is no longer trapped in the body. It moves upward, flowering in compassion, in music, in silence. This is why the great poets, the great mystics, the great creators were often men and women who knew love deep. And when energy flowers in love, when love deepens into meditation, then the greatest revelation happens. Sex was never against the sacred. It was always a door into it. You see, sex is not against God. Sex is God's way of bringing you closer to Him. It is the reminder that you are not separate, that existence is union. The orgasm is only a shadow of what is possible. In that brief melting of self, you have tasted a drop. Meditation is the ocean. The body is a temple. But society has turned you against your own temple. It made you kneel in churches and mosques and temples of stone while denying the living shrine inside your own flesh. But when you bring love, when you bring awareness, the body becomes divine. Touch becomes prayer. The beloved becomes a mirror. And through two bodies meeting, the universe itself celebrates. This is the sacred dimension of sex, when it is no longer just biological, no longer just mechanical, no longer just unconscious, but a bridge. A bridge between body and soul, between man and woman, between matter and spirit. And the beauty is, once you know this, sex is no longer an obsession. It becomes a passage. You walk through it, and you arrive beyond it, beyond lust, beyond craving, beyond the wheel. Then silence opens within you, a vastness, a freedom, and you realize that the energy that once drove you outward has turned inward, upward. You are no longer a beggar searching for satisfaction. You are a king overflowing with bliss. Osho said, "The goal is not to become celibate. The goal is to become whole. And when you are whole, sex is transcended naturally." This is the dance of life, sex as the seed, love as the flower, meditation as the fragrance, and silence as the sky. Do not condemn the seed. Do not worship only the flower. Live the whole journey, and perhaps in the moment you embrace sex without guilt, without shame, with totality. If these words have touched something deep in you, if they have awakened even a small flame of remembrance, stay with us on this journey. Subscribe to Sacred Murmur and walk with me into these hidden truths, where silence speaks, where love heals, where the forgotten sacred waits to be rediscovered.